Good evening, everyone. We're going to bring this meeting to order. I'd like everyone to rise and take canvas and wear nation's flag. About the head of her on stage. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, let's take our seats. I'd just like to remind anybody that wants to speak before or after the meeting, if you would please sign in on the sign-in sheet so that we can call your name when it comes time for public to speak. Thank you. Well, that's out of the way. Let's see. I guess we see what manager's going. Want to start with, did anyone wish to speak at the beginning? Oh, I'm still used to the signing process. Will you sign that up here, Chris? Absolutely. Thank you, my friend. I guess I need a point to sign in. Have signed in. Okay, as is customary, if you're going to speak, please give your name, borough or township organization which you represent, or self and subject. It is requested that comments be kept to 3 minutes, and comments relative to private property complaints or employee matters should be directed to the manager or council president outside the meeting. That's personal issues. Otherwise, we're fine. Sure. Charlie Earl, did you want to speak at the beginning of our meeting?
No, I don't need to speak at this time.
Okay. Mr. Salagi, did you want to talk at the start of the meeting?
Yeah, just a couple things. Sorry I couldn't be here last month. I was in Alaska having a wonderful trip with my grandson. And I understand that a lot of my concerns were dealt with at the last meeting, so I don't know, maybe if you get a chance, you could check with me just to see what, I don't know if there's a written.
I don't have the rundown of what I went over with me here.
They said,
If you want to stop at the office anytime, I'm more than glad to go over exactly what I went over in the meeting.
sure, just that'd be great.
Yeah, anytime, just give me a call, make sure I'm there.
Okay.
And just stop it.
Fine.
Bring dogs.
I had a couple other issues too that I thought of in the meantime in the last 2 months. One, we had rental properties, domiciles. Is there anything going on where we check the living conditions, whether they're acceptable or not, or I noticed there's just a tiny bit of blight in some of the older lack of upkeep on the exteriors and so on and so forth, and it kind of makes me wonder if things are as good or bad on the inside. So I mean, I have a rental property, and I personally don't know that I've ever been asked to show that it's habitable. Just something to think about. Do we have a grant writer, or how do you handle that? Do you take care of that yourself?
Yeah.
Okay. Are crosswalks legally binding without the stripes?
PennDOT controls that.
Okay.
If
I notice the stripes are at the intersections, but the other ones aren't. And so if somebody gets run over in one that's not up to code or whatever, would it, still be dead? But
I believe they're enforceable whether they're striped or not, but PennDOT controls. I wanted to do a more aggressive striping at one time, and PennDOT said I couldn't do it.
okay.
But I think they're enforceable regardless of whether they're striped or not, and I actually refer that question to Chief Weibert. He would probably be much more knowledgeable in that area than I would.
Okay, well maybe you can check with me later or
Yeah,
something.
exactly.
No problem, I don't want to take up your time. Then, is there a plan, or could there be a plan, to improve the sidewalks, either through owner incentives or declaration of unsafe condition, low or no interest loans to help people pay for it? But you know, it's such a nice town, it'd be nice to be able to walk around, but even some of the tracks directly to the school where the little kids go, you know, are marginal at best. So that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thanks. I was just going to say, now we'll move on to manager's report.
Didn't mean to step on your toes. There you go. Under correspondence, I've been asked by Jason Hodlofski to read this to the council. I hereby submit my resignation from Troy Borough Council as a council president, effective immediately. I served this community on this council for 17 years and 15 years as council president. At that time, I have helped maintain all the public utilities and safety. Taxpayers' money was spent appropriately, and the budget was balanced every year with minimum tax raises. My focus was to keep this town affordable and safe and to raise a family. I helped accomplish that. So he is resigning from his presidency and from the council. I would just inform council that if a vacancy occurs in the office of a council member, you have basically have 30 days to appoint somebody to fill that vacancy. If you can't fill that vacancy in the 30-day period, it goes to the vacancy board, which then has 15 days to fill the vacancy. The vacancy board consists of all of council and one selected member from the electorate, who will chair the committee of council. If they can't come up with a replacement within that 15-day period, then it goes to the Court of Common Pleas for an appointment from the judge.
When does that 30 days start? Is that today?
When the resignation is accepted.
Okay.
So I would suspect that the clock will start ticking today.
You have to have it on the agenda to accept it?
I'm sorry.
You have to have it on the agenda to accept it, as far as I know?
No, we don't. I don't think so.
No.
It's what you would call de minimis. It's not, there's no finance or funding or no contractual agreement. And
That's the end of the contract.
What's that?
That's the end of the contract.
No, there is no contract.
We can't compel him to serve. So as of this minute, he is no longer on the council.
This is not how that works. Okay.
The only thing I would add is that there's only one individual that's on the ballot who showed an interest in becoming a council member who's not already a council member, and I would encourage council to probably consider that individual because he has shown an interest, and he's the only individual that has, by way of running in the preliminary. But that's a council decision. And we'll move on.
Motion for anything else?
I guess you can make it official.
I mean, to schedule on, we have our first step.
That could be, you could do that, or direct me to organize a committee meeting, and then I'll get a hold of everybody and see when the time is good for those that are on the committee. Yeah.
It would be beneficial if we had a motion to schedule general government.
So moved. So actually, Walt's right. We have 45 days to accept that. We probably should put it on next month's agenda to accept it.
What, is resignation?
Yeah, it should be. Just doing some quick research.
This was debate. Do we have a second? Second. Now we can.
We probably should put it on the agenda for next month, just to cover things. We have, to accept it. We have 45 days to accept it.
Well, forming a committee doesn't bind us to anything. That's merely exploration and asking questions.
No, to accept his resignation. It should be on the agenda for next month.
That's not a problem,
Yeah.
but I think having a committee meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Sorry, yeah, no, that makes, I was just,
Well, now I was misunderstanding.
yeah, no, just, what I was saying was, Walt's right, after just doing some quick, we're moving on, quickly.
The clock starts now. But
So we would still be under our timeline for next month to officially accept it, just to cover all our bases.
And at that time, the committee could then report and make decisions, pass the buck. Is there any more discussion?
Wait a minute, that was Steve.
Steve, primary, or second?
Happy for Bradford.
Next, we vote on what we're gonna do, we're gonna put to. Can we have a vote, please? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried.
And also have been asked to read, Dear Dan, it has been a pleasure to work with you as Borough Solicitor over the last 25 years. I believe that I have been in this position for 30 years or more. However, I am sending this to you to advise you that as soon as I have the borrowing base certificate and debt statement prepared for the loan between the Troy Borough and the Borough Authority, I will no longer desire to serve as solicitor to the Borough. I wish you the best of luck. And he did complete the borrowing base certificate that we need for that loan, which has to go to ECD. And our borrowing base, without requiring a vote of the electorate, is for non-electoral is $1,687,780 on it. Electoral plus rental is $2,362,892, and we're looking to borrow a little over $90,000. So this will be sent to DCED for their approval, and after that, we're committed to start making the payments, and that completion there makes his resignation complete. I would respectfully suggest to council that you put out an RFP for a solicitor.
We were required to now, aren't we? Or I think there's strong suggestion to do so before just.
Either way, we should be a motion to direct our manager to begin the search for solicitors.
That's what he's talking about. He has to put out the
Request for proposal.
for proposal. Basically, it's like a bid process now.
So moved, if we do that.
Second.
Second.
Very good. First by Stonebridge, second by Rowe. Is there any more discussion on this? We absolutely must have it. We require it.
Out of order.
I have maybe some discussion for that. I, for one, would like to see a solicitor from out of the area that has no ties to this community.
You might get
My
that.
personal opinion, I don't know if that's worth any weight whatsoever, but that's just coming from me.
Good idea, but you might have a horse in the race.
So it all depends on how many returns we get, right?
I know,
So,
yeah, I know we're gonna be struck with whatever we're struck with, but I would, it would be my wish that we heavily consider somebody outside with no ties.
And John's right, that's going to depend on how the
I just wanted to get it off my chest, and, you know what I mean?
Okay, so this is for.
Is there any other discussion on this?
What does that process look like for putting it out? Like,
It'll be advertised. The RFP will look for things like, it'll state our purpose and intent, proposal submission. It'll lay out the general information regarding the borough, population and all the stuff that they would need that they need to look at. And then it will lay out the scope of services and duties of the solicitor to the borough. Scope of services may include but not limited to, and I'll just read a few of these because it's very long. Working knowledge of Pennsylvania Borough Code, government ethics, sunshine, right to know laws, subdivision, land development, zoning, comprehensive planning, regional planning, water distribution, water authority, wastewater authority, development, review of ordinances, resolutions, policies, contract, procurement. It goes on and on and on, and I don't think I need to read the whole thing unless somebody else wants to.
Does
That's 3 pages.
does that come through a council vote?
Yes.
Once you-
Yeah, once it comes in, then that's what we will do.
Okay.
And then it asks for, well, it lists the term, we'll determine the term, that we have that current, existing, and ongoing work, mandatory content of the proposal, we would give to them, references, disciplinary actions, conflicts of interest, insurance, fees, employment, equal employment, and then it goes on to talk about selection of contract, and we tell them how we're going to do that process. I will put, I need to make some adjustments to this, and then I'll put this out to council, and they can comment back to me if things are more or less or whatever. But also in Title 8, it does state that if the attorney that resigned is a member of a firm, then another attorney in that firm can represent us until we go through this process. So if something were to come up that we needed, like this tax borrowing or the borrowing-based thing that needs to go to DCD, we could listen one of the other attorneys in the firm to do that if they so choose.
Yeah, one more question. Surprise. Is he breaking the contract by doing that?
I don't think he has an actual contract, just a,
We didn't look at it. Just curious.
just a letter of retention, right?
I think he's been doing it for years. I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't-
There's a letter probably in the dusty files.
Yeah, just a letter of retention.
Just curious.
So unless there's any more discussion, I'd like to put this to vote. All in favor of directing our borough manager to proceed with this?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion is carried. Oh boy, need a motion to accept the minutes from the previous meeting.
Let's say
First, I
that
should
you
ask,
want-
this one is dated June 13th meeting. Are there any amendments to that?
I believe the amendment is that was the 16th. Or was it the 13th?
No, she's been,
It's last Friday.
yeah, it's Friday. 17, I don't know.
Well, I can look back at the
Well,
record.
we even, I mean, since it was deemed, a meeting that couldn't happen, we really don't need to sign it. There was no meeting to happen.
I would assume, since the meeting didn't happen, there would be no minutes.
Right.
And that's basically what I wrote down, so that we have a record of what transpired. Because we did officially open the meeting and close it.
We have a May 29th minutes. Are there any amendments to those minutes? If there are no amendments to May 29th meeting, and there's no amendments to May 13th meeting, I ask for a motion to receive those minutes as presented.
So moved.
I'll second.
I'm very thankful.
And the 13th is actually the 20th, right?
20.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, it was.
Yes.
That's that.
Gotcha. Unless there's any discussion, like vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion is carried.
Not the Buffalo bills, but the paid bills. Totaling $98,916.48.
I ask for a motion at this time to accept these bills as properly paid.
Second.
Second by Rob. Unless there's any discussion?
I would like to get into a little bit of discussion
Sure.
about the multiple electrical bills that we have. I had requested the bills themselves, which I received. Having a little bit of a tough time putting a place to the bill. I'm assuming some of the higher dollar ones are streetlights, $3,000 to $4,000. I just would like to make note, if somebody make note that I am again going to bring up the switching of the streetlights to LEDs. I think it's astronomical what we pay for electric. It bothers me that we have so many accounts to begin with, but I understand why we do. But there seems to be lots of room for improvement in those areas. And I think, Dan, you and I discussed before, I know we got a hold of PennDOT. They won't change them for free unless the ballots go bad. I get that. But I think initial investment up front could possibly show a savings in less than a year's time. I think Dave, Blair, and myself, we all talked about it at one point about the school switching. Just something that I want to bring back to the table again at some point.
Was it here to say?
In the near future.
They switched away from Penline, right?
We have everything, we have an LED.
Yeah.
I thought there was one time they were discussing switching carriers too.
We're still, I can't say what we are in the wrong since I.
And maybe
That wouldn't change, John, that wouldn't change the fact that we have LED or don't have LED, that would still be Penline's. They own the lights.
Yeah,
We don't use Penline as our carrier, we use Hudson.
Okay.
We contracted with them until 27. $2 per kilowatt hour savings there. But I think, in my opinion, John, the first step would be to go out and find out how many lights we have, what the cost is per, and then come back with some numbers to look at and say, okay, this is what's going to cost you.
And that's fine.
Aside from there, I mean, if we don't have any numbers, we kind of decide.
I mean, baby steps is all I'm talking about. What we do, I don't know where the meters are at for these things. I'm so sure there's multiple meters, or do they just?
They're not metered.
They're not.
Street lights are not.
So it's just a flat rate.
It's a flat rate.
That would have to be rediscussed or redetermined after the LEDs are
The
installed.
only ones that are metered are the decorative lights in the downtown. Those are metered, but the street lights aren't. I'm sure it would have to be cost for one.
Right. And
I'll reach out to Penelec and see what all the ins and outs are.
it's not a snap of the fingers, and I understand that, but I'm just looking for savings down the road.
Absolutely.
More efficient, many of them, actually get these answers.
Well,
Well, we could probably put that under the general government committee, couldn't we? It's already established. More streets and sidewalks.
I have a subordinate motion. Being general government committee, figure out counts and use rates of these lights.
I'm sorry, could you guys speak up? It's really hard to hear any of you.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to be louder, I'm just not.
Thank you.
A threatening guy.
You got a little bit quieter there at the end. I just
So if we have a subordinate motion, it can be in the general government committee to get these questions
Probably go
answered.
to streets, yes, streets and sidewalks. Probably that's probably the best place to put
If
it.
that would be a better place,
Yeah.
but a committee that's fitting can answer, you can ask these questions, can answer these questions. Want to know how many lights we have, what the energy usage is, and what the cost would be of replacing out the sodium vapor bulbs with LEDs, or other options. That would be a good motion to get this completely.
That's you and I, right?
streets and sidewalks.
Yeah, so we can connect, you figure out your schedule. Probably Nick has a good idea, so we can meet earlier in that. Figure out, he probably has a good idea of where they're at, right?
Yeah.
Tina, would you have that information by any chance? Would you have the information on, how many lights and stuff we have, or no?
I do not.
Okay.
Charlie does.
He
I
counted.
will tell you that years ago, I did contact Caldwell about changing to LEDs, and at that time, our lights were not old enough, and they did not do it.
Right.
It is a perennial request.
When I spoke to them, they said that they wouldn't do it, but we could. So, I'm just trying cost versus
Yeah,
reward.
at that time, Caldwell was replacing them for other municipalities, so I
Right.
reached out, but we weren't eligible.
Yeah, I think they did all of downtown, Wanda.
Yeah, they had a grant program for that stuff.
Okay.
Who's chair of sidewalks?
Steve, to answer,
On behalf of that committee, make the motion.
to answer your question, there was 20 streetlights that were not functioning a few months ago when I presented it to
I
council.
stand corrected. I thought you counted them.
I didn't count them all.
Yeah, I'll motion that the streets and sidewalk committee begin, undertaking this.
Second.
You already discussed it all. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good, that subordinate motion has carried. Now we can continue on with the bills. Unless there's any amendments or further questions on bills, I ask for a vote at this time. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion has carried also.
Tourism resolution is next on the agenda. The tourism office is asking us to pass this resolution. It's being sent to all municipalities for consideration. You can contact Rob coming for questions. Resolution is in regards to the America 250 PA campaign. It doesn't require us to do anything. They just want our support in doing that. It's a resolution, whereas the Pennsylvania legislature and the governor created America 250 PA in 2018 to plan, encourage, develop, and coordinate the commemoration of the 250th anniversary of the United States, and Pennsylvania's integral role in that event and the role of its people in the nation's past, present, and future, and whereas America 250 PA hopes to engage all Pennsylvanians in all 67 counties through their many signature officially recognized programs, projects, and events over the next several years by inspiring future leaders and celebrating all Pennsylvania's contributions to the nation over the last 150 years. And whereas by adoption of the America 250 PA, 4 pillars of EPIC, we hope to educate, preserve, innovate, and celebrate. Now therefore be it resolved, and it is hereby resolved that the Borough of Troy hereby endorses America 250 PA and their mission to educate, preserve, innovate, and celebrate every Pennsylvania in every county. And it is further resolved that a copy of this resolution be sent to Bradford County Legislative Delegation and American 250 Commission.
Well, I guess I need a motion to endorse that endorsement.
I'll make the motion. I'll second it.
Any discussion on this? Seems like it's a simple endorsement. They're not charging us money.
No, it costs me a second to support.
All right, then, put this to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried.
I believe I sent to you the termination notices that we're intending to complete.
How about Davidson and Green?
Oh, I guess I didn't skip one.
Skip that
Oh,
one.
I wasn't sorry. On behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, I received this from a member of the Chamber, Caroline Hall. On behalf of Detroit Borough Chamber of Commerce, I respectfully request permission to use Davidson Green for our Picnic in the Park event on Saturday, July 19, 2025, from 5 to 8 p.m., including time for setup and tear down for a live band. The event is open to the public at no cost, inviting attendees to bring their own picnic and enjoy live music. A tent will be erected for the band, and a one-call notification will be submitted to ensure protection of underground utilities. Chamber members will oversee cleanup and address any potential property damage. Several representatives will be on site to coordinate the event. As required, a certificate of insurance naming Troy Borough as additional insured for the event will be provided to Troy Borough Manager Dan Close by Chamber member Elizabeth Clark. And the Chamber agrees to indemnify, hold harmless, and if necessary, defend the Borough of Troy, its departments, officers, agents, and employees against any claims arising from the event due to acts or omissions of the Chamber, its officers, agents, or employees. Thank you for your consideration. Please let us know if you need any additional information. The things that she has pointed out in here are the things that were required the last time they used green. I think that's really sufficient. Although, you know, our insurance people say that everybody that's there really ought to be doing a certificate of insurance, but he said he understands that that's probably not doable. So the overreaching one of the chamber, he said it's going to have to be sufficient. So I guess what we would be looking for is a motion to allow these agreements.
I'll make the motion.
Very good.
I'll second.
Okay, lots of seconds.
Chris O'Connor's the thirsty wine minute. For my part, I've done a lot of multi-day, produced a lot of multi-day festivals. The three key things any venue wants is indemnification. If I use your property, I'm not going to sue you, one of my guests did. Also, some understanding of accountability. It will be me that's liable for any damage that costs to your property. And you'll take me to court to get it if it doesn't happen. Those both are in that level. I would agree with Dan. I think any worry of insurance is not that much. People are in a public green and take care of themselves. Anyone else have anything to add here?
I just want to call for a vote.
Very good, then let's
That's
take the
another.
vote. All in favor?
I'm gonna go into my safety part here. I would just like to suggest that, anything going forward, that we request them to have some type of, for lack of a better term, traffic control at the end of the street between the green and the bank, simply because I preach it every day, at every meeting I give my guys, the kids are out of school. And one kid comes up out of that green to cross over to the bank, and some Yahoo on a cross.
So being that's our street, we can probably grant a permit to shut that down, right?
All we have to do is notify Bradford County Emergency
Been through
Services.
that before, yeah, we have to be careful on.
I mean, the biggest compelling you're gonna get on that street is right there.
Why do I not want to close it?
I'm not suggesting we do that now, I just wanted to for further,
Going forward.
yeah,
Yeah,
moving
I think
forward.
the champion could ask, I mean, a fire policeman could run the deal for a couple hours.
We'll let traffic up through, but just assure that they're going through slowly.
Guys, slowly, yes, right.
We've got too many hellraisers in this town. God, the last thing I want to see is a kid.
And our street's a quarter-mile drag strip anymore.
No. So that's, you
Let's see.
let somebody in an orange vest out front there, just be invisible so people don't get in their hands.
Correct. And again, I'm not asking for that now, it's a little late, but
Let's see here, did we form a committee, we did form a, no, it was general governance that was supposed to be, getting a permanent policy.
We don't have a permanent policy yet. We reached out to the community that was recommended to reach out to, and they informed us that that was run by the county, and they really didn't have a formal policy. If I'm not mistaken, so we need to do more work, but it doesn't need to be extremely complicated.
No.
Just a basic use permit policy.
They've kind of all the bases. Like Steve said, it seems like a simple.
Right now, they're just looking for authorization for that date.
Right. We have a motion on the floor, it's been moved and seconded.
So I think our discussion's over.
We're in discussion.
Sure, any, shall we vote then? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Guess the motion is carried.
Now I can go to termination.
There you go.
You have a list of accounts, there are 16 past due, 3 that we're looking at potential liens. Total $8,315.85. Just looking for a vote of council to go forward with the terminations and liens where necessary.
I'll motion.
I second it.
Discussion.
John, either one. John can second it.
So that's to go forward with the liens as well, correct?
Yeah, I include both, I would include both, yeah.
The one question I have, the one that doesn't have a curb stop light,
We have other methods, we have the authority to go in and put a lockbox on the meter.
no, I'm just asking why it doesn't have a curb stop.
Oh, it's probably attempted to turn it off and found out that it's old and isn't working and we're gonna have to replace it.
Okay.
We have, it's not uncommon.
Oh, no, I know, the way I read it, Dan, was that there's not one there, period, like.
Well,
it's
that's-
installed.
Well, it could have
No
been
curb
knocked
stop.
off years and years ago and buried.
We're looking at account numbers for obvious reasons, not.
Sure.
The locations, I'll have to look at that and see what this,
Okay.
whether it's a no curb stop or whether it's a curb stop.
Because I guess if there's not one there, period, then I'd be a bit concerned about us just jumping to the lien before we, you know,
Well,
do due diligence on it.
the lien is there because the past due amount.
Right.
It has nothing to do with the curb stop.
Right, but if we haven't, we haven't tried to shut it off, right?
No, but they've been notified plenty of times if we're gonna terminate their service if they don't.
Okay.
Final note, yours, but I guess.
That's the one with no residents. There's one listed, there's no resident. That's past due.
No, that's not.
Okay.
That's got a place lien on it as well, but that's not the one that says no curb stop. And depending on if we have the auto electronic, we can put that meter on that facility and shut it off that way.
We've been instructed by certain people not to go into that property.
I'm sorry, Tina, I couldn't hear
We
you.
were instructed by certain people not to go into that property.
Oh.
It's not safe.
Oh, into the property.
Well,
I've got hazmat suits at work, I can love
That's
it.
not the safe, we're not talking about.
no.
Oh,
We're not talking about hazmat kind of.
Well, we have a full-time officer.
Yeah.
I'm sure a manager can figure out how to execute this.
And the good news is that we're doing something.
Yep.
I mean, it's not fair to everybody else in the borough that pays their bill. And then, so in essence, they're carrying these people, so I applaud this.
They're gonna do it or they're gonna quit, one way or the other.
I mean, you hate to do that to somebody, but Jimmy Crickets.
We have done this right along. We just started here within the last few months or within this last year to go to council to get full, to get council support, so we carry a little bit more weight.
All for it.
For front office and Dan not to be catching all the hell. Say that council voted us.
My house is safe for me.
Well, I guess I'll ask for a vote at this time. All in favor?
Aye.
That was unanimous. Motion carried.
There we go. In terms of bridge grants, sorry, a little trouble finding that. We have received in grant funding and paid out to vendors to date $463,072. We have approved and pending to be paid another $4,861.82 for a total of $469,933.90. And we have now moved into the final design phase, so the project continues to move forward. And that's basically just a report, so there's really no action needed on that. Somebody has something to talk about.
Okay, then I guess we can move on. Any absence in their mind, Mr. Chief Blair?
You have the police report, which was sent to you. Chief Wybert's here if you have any questions. That's where I'd head with those babies.
Do they have to be based on our report, you said?
Or about
It's, these reports on the agenda, so I'm going to assume we don't get too far into the weeds.
Yeah. Always hold.
I got a question, Chief. What is the statute or the law on fire hydrants, parking near them, or blocking them?
It's within so many feet, I have to look up exactly whether it's 15 feet or 20 feet of the fire hydrant.
Each side?
Each side,
Okay.
yeah, I can look up the exact statute.
I would just, and I'm all about reminding first, say, hey, dude, what if your house catches on fire?
Okay.
You can't be here, but if it happens again, because it's just something that makes me crazy. Why don't you park in front of the fire hydrant? So that answers my question.
I've actually seen vehicles with parked in front of the fire hydrant where they took and smashed both side windows out of the vehicle.
Oh, yeah.
And ran the hose to the fire hydrant.
They run a hose.
Yeah. Our rule back in the 70s was when we had older trucks, where I used to live, is back up, pull up to it, and move it.
Yeah, I can look up exactly, I think it's like 15, 20 feet.
Yeah,
Right beside the fire hydrant.
It's just so that we're,
Yep.
that's an easy thing. Heaven forbid, somebody's house catches on fire and then they can't get at it.
Any other questions for Chief Blair?
Yes. Everything going okay?
One go, I asked, get a meeting set up, and maybe just go over everything.
It's a 30-foot spot.
I was gonna purchase property, upgrade like on radios. I got quotes on a new vehicle, I mean, the vehicle's got 75,000 miles on it. I was gonna work till 11 tonight, but the headlights on that thing are horrible, horrible. So I just got some proposals, got some quotes out, so I'll meet with the committee and discuss it then and take it back to the full council.
Okay, good.
Rest of the agenda is really council agenda.
Yes, council's requested a number of items here.
Item 1, yes, sir.
Okay.
Item 2.
There's it's on the agenda, I know you called for it. Maybe someone else wants to talk about it, though. Is there a motion to divide or dispense with number one here?
I'll motion to this.
I'll second it.
Okay, well, the requester is one who moves to dispense or to skip it. We can move on to that by acclamation. Number two. If we can go by acclamation. Number two, discussion potential of repeal of parts or entirety of Part 2, Section 1-206. I believe that was yours as well, sir?
It is, so I'd like to have some discussion about separating some of the responsibilities. I mean, we've all talked to Dan, we know how busy he is. One of the ways I thought we could take some off his plate was to take the personnel management away from him and create department heads that would respond primarily, or report primarily to, if there's an issue they need to discuss, their corresponding council or committees, and then monthly they provide council of the whole report.
The committee heads.
Yeah, the department head.
The department heads.
Yeah. Just like Chief came in and gave his report, so forth.
I see, the purpose then, so you're in order to form a department head, you'd have to not just repeal 1-206, you'd also have to replace it with something new.
Correct.
Is this at all related to number 3, that's section 2-209?
No, so that one we can discard too, because that was my fault, Dan, I gave you the wrong section number.
Which one was that?
209.
3?
Yeah.
Dispense with that as well. So,
I would like to comment on the personnel management discussion for a little bit to expand on that. Quite a bit here that I could put in terms of appointed administrators and what goes on in boroughs. I think I want to skip to this last section, and I haven't looked at it in a couple of days, so I don't remember exactly what's there, so forgive me while I read this, but personnel management is one of the keys to an efficient borough government operation. It's probably the area that can cause the greatest problems for borough council to handle poorly. Many functions of local government are categorized under personnel management, record keeping, employee hiring policy, affirmative action, personal in-service training plan, employee relations policy, systems for maximizing employee potential, standards for wage and salary administration, and providing for employee benefits. Even the smallest boroughs need to understand the importance of personnel issues, since even they are not immune from being charged with discrimination or violation of the statute. It gets pretty dicey when you've got 4 or 5 people handling administration of personnel. If you look at other municipalities in the state of Pennsylvania, and you look at the powers and duties of the borough manager, you'll see that it's almost a boilerplate. They're basically the same. If you've seen ours, you've read it, you know what's there. To supervise and be responsible for activities of departments, hire when necessary, so on and so forth. This is one municipality in the state of Pennsylvania. The manager shall be the chief administrative officer of the borough and shall be responsible for council of the whole for the proper sanctioning. Ours says. The duties shall include supervision and responsibility of activities for departments of the borough, except for those duties especially included by statute. The manager shall schedule council hire and, if necessary, for the borough, suspend discharge. Exactly the same. Another municipality, again, exactly the same. These have been in place for a long time. There are some duties that I wouldn't mind dispensing with to make things a little easier and maybe give whoever will be the manager more time to deal with some of the other things that need to be dealt with, plus dealing with the learning curve.
So instead of us making a rash decision tonight, we amicable to a committee meeting with general government, and see if we can hash that out in the next couple of weeks. Fair to you?
I think it's a pretty big decision, and it ought to have, all the ramifications ought to be looked at, and if we were to do that here tonight, I think we'd be here tonight.
No, I'd rather have.
I got a shitty flight.
I'd rather have a committee meeting, sit down with you.
So that's number 2, and you want a general government committee.
Yeah.
Number 3 knocked off.
Yes.
That's number 4 you can knock off?
Number 5.
Number 5 you can knock off?
Who was it that requested the number?
Yes, 1 5 can be discarded.
Non-starter.
Yes, and I believe we've already covered number 5 for the manager. I guess that just moves us on to the hiring of an ordinance enforcement.
Well, when we hire, it would be after the start of the discussion with the creation, right, of the position, because it doesn't really exist.
Yeah, and the manager's duties, that's listed in there.
Right.
When we interviewed Chief Wyber for the job, we asked him if he would be opposed to helping with ordinance enforcement, and he said he would not be opposed to that. And he's done a couple for us since, and it goes rather quickly,
I know,
rather easily.
I just have an issue with a uniformed police officer doing code enforcement. It's come back to bite different municipalities in the ass. One of them right in Bradford County.
And my intent is not that he, some of these smaller ordinances, the ones that I would ask and have asked the chief to deal with are ones that are difficult. One place, there's probably maybe meth on inside.
Right, so in that case.
And I don't want to be involved with
No,
that.
you would
because
go,
I'm
or
too old and I'm
the
too
chief,
short
or
strength to be going into that kind of situation.
Go with the code enforcement officer. I'm not talking a substantial budget, $5 to $6 grand a year, let a guy work, or gal, whoever we could, find, 5 to 6 hours a week.
So I think, if I can add to this, I think it's not the big ticket items that we are extremely focused on. Again, because we do have law enforcement that can handle them, but, everybody in the borough talks about, beautification of downtown Troy. And this place can look 99.9% good until you get to 1 yard. And if we had somebody that had time, and I think what we're saying is we don't feel as though you have time to go to this house, knock on it, tell them, hey, listen, you've got so many hours to get this lawnmower, so many days that we're sending the borough guys down with weed eaters, chainsaws, and lawnmowers. It's somebody to do that kind of stuff, because again, certain days in the week, this place can look amazing. And then, you make it halfway through town and somebody's parked a 1972 Dodge Dart in their yard with 2 wheels on it. It's just not.
I don't disagree with that, John. I think that those are the ones that are the most difficult for me, and like you said,
You don't have time to be walking around with a foot patrol checking.
well, I don't go looking for it if somebody has a complaint that I deal with, but the issue is most of the folks who have those kind of issues, you can go out and push, and when you finally get compliance, you turn your back, and 2 weeks later, you're back to where you were again. And you can take them to court. I've done that, and that sort of thing, but I think I would like to see a committee meeting where we discuss how much, whether it goes to finance or whether it goes to general government, I don't care.
I think we should vote on whether we decide to create it tonight and then send it to committee.
I think there's some.
We shouldn't we shouldn't decide in the committee, the parameters, like, yes, we want the guy. Yes, we're gonna pay him $20 an hour. Yes, he's gonna work 6 hours a week or 8 hours, whatever you guys.
Right. There's also got to be a framework of what statutes he's going to enforce.
Because once it's voted for,
Which is pretty, the framework on there is pretty well done. We adopt the IPMC, DD, my pick a quality of life, gives him some options in his toolbox. I'm sure Chief Wyber, Brian's still there, can help us secure an ORI number for that specific thing, because again, if Brian gets audited by the state running plates for code enforcement, we pay a fine.
Right, well, the purpose of the committee would be to get the parameters established and any model ordinance they'd like to establish that office, and then make the recommendation here, maybe at the committee.
So we can do a joint committee meeting with finance and streets.
In the past, we've done a hybrid, where we take the chair of one and the chair of the other, and let them get together.
I think that part of the safety committee should be in there too, because a lot of this is safety related.
Yeah. So let
me see what I can put together. Maybe we could even do a workshop and everybody can get on board.
Okay.
Let me see what I can do.
It really involves all the committees.
Yeah.
It's gonna take more than one session. I just wanna-
Oh, absolutely.
Even if we meet for 2 hours on one day next week, we're gonna meet again in another day.
With that being said, I don't wanna string this out
No.
till December.
No,
You know what I
sure.
mean? Like, I know
Then it's snowblowing
now
season.
one resident's property staring in my face right now, not my house, but I pass it every day, 3, 4 times, and it's the same thing every thinking year. It just needs dealt with. And I realize you don't have time to go down to Jonathan every time we gotta take somebody there. And I get it. I respect that. But
It is, and that's where there's things that I learned from past positions that, having that ORI number, being able to write a non-traffic citation, simplifies paperwork. You're not spending 4 hours drawing up a private criminal complaint.
I think we need to do that, and we need to get the framework in place and look at the budget, because it's new, it's a new line item, it's not in the budget. So I think we need to take a look at that. I think John's right, it can't drag on. I mean, we'd like to do these things this summer, get this stuff started, and that sort of thing. And I don't have a problem with that, and I'll work to get that together here within the next couple of weeks. And I think within 1 or 2 meetings, we can have together what we need.
And I know
As a matter of fact, I think we could have it done in time for the next meeting, and then make the vote.
Because even the ordinances and structure that we would have to put in our own ordinance to create, it's framework, right? Just like yours, it's statutory framework that already exists.
And this might be something that after a year, 18 months, whatever, that position could dissolve. Once people realize that we're not gonna stand for the craziness and the lack of care for the residents, you get them on board. I mean, as long as, it'll probably be publicly announced, but I don't think anybody in this room is gonna go, hey, I can quit mowing my lawn. So it could be just a temporary thing. I don't know. I'm done.
I'll do it.
I hope there will be a motion on that.
No.
Anyone in council have anything for the minute of Borough?
I do.
Wait, I think Blair was gonna say something first, actually.
Who was?
Blair, were you gonna say?
Well, it shouldn't be at this time when the new council president or the way, because it doesn't matter who.
Right, but we can technically vote on it tonight to change him, but I don't see any harm in waiting until next month either.
So that we can have the,
Yeah,
I'm here now.
it's at the discretion of council.
right.
And the only thing he's responsible for between now and then is getting the minutes around there, typing up tights.
Right.
I couldn't get Blair's rates anymore, so.
No, I take care of all that. Actually, in all actuality, the council president's job is to run the meeting. That's what he does. I mean, I do coordinate a lot with the council president, hey, you think that's okay to go here, go there, whatever, just so I have a sounding board between full council meetings. But really, the council president's job is to run the meeting. It's your pleasure, so we can do that next meeting without any trouble. Think about who you want in there, pleasure.
And you have something for the
Yes,
minute?
I don't know if this was the good of the order, but, not to bore you with the details. Our daughter has got a serious health condition, and she's gonna be not in very good shape for quite a while. And I'm not gonna be here. I'm gonna, my wife and I are gonna go to Michigan and stay for probably 3.5 or 4 months. And I don't personally feel, you can't do a job if you're not, I'm a stickler for this. I was always jacked up about a former school superintendent. How could you say what's good for me if you don't even live here? You're not part of the deal. So, having said that, I was going to wait a while, but since there's going to be a search on for Jason's person, I would formally resign from council because I'm not going to be here. And I may take other times. I may be back here for a couple, then gone again for 3 or 4, whatever. So.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that your daughter's having problems, and hope the best. And 3.5 to 4 months is a pretty long stretch. With Jason and then you, drags us down to 5. Again, I would go back to, we have one member of the community who has shown an interest in being on council and has got on the ballot for the 2-year term to fill that 2-year term that's left. And my concern is, you know, we were in a place before, I don't want to be back there again, where I come in here and I don't have a quorum, I can't conduct any business, I can't get stuff done I need to get done. So I would encourage council to appoint the individual that is on the ballot. That appointment only lasts till January, first Monday of January of 26. And then that person more than likely is going to be on for a 2-year term, and we're going to have to fill that 4-year vacancy.
They don't fill the existing person's term.
So it's still come up.
Oh,
Yeah.
but I just felt tonight, since you're going to do it anyway, you're going to be out there, now's the time to do it. Rather than
Correct me if
do
I'm
one and do another.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, didn't at one point we discussed downsizing the size of council so that way the quorum itself becomes smaller?
We did, and it's not an easy, it's a lengthy process.
Okay.
I'm not trying to back away
No,
from it.
no, I'm
It's a lengthy
inquiring.
process. It requires voting, the public has to make decisions, I think
Okay.
the court
It
gets
almost has
involved.
to be a ballot initiative.
Yeah.
Okay, I just inquiring.
It can be
Because
done.
there's two, I just figured I'd inquire.
It can be done. I've said for a long time, it wouldn't be bad if we had a 5-member council, make it a lot easier for us to fill it.
That raises the next elephant in the room. When are you done?
Well, it depends, is that I still have the choice of staying here. If I win the November election, then it would be January, but again, if I win that, and if I decide to accept it.
He has a choice either or in January.
I got you. Okay.
So
I
yeah,
just curious.
we could possibly do one more month. That's why I'm thinking we'd be better.
I would motion to revisit previous business, the resignation letter from former President Hodlofski, so we can then vote on moving forward with the appointment process, or at least scheduling a meeting to inspect this individual.
So move.
We can't, we just talked about it should be on the agenda to accept it.
No, we can, that would, yeah, well, part of correspondence, we will respond to correspondence.
What are you talking
You
about?
have 45 days to
accept
respond, to accept it, but you don't have to use that 45 days.
Right, but I think when I was doing some research is that resignation and action on that should be on the agenda
I see.
for next month.
Okay, all right, yeah, that's
Just
what I wrote
yeah,
back there.
Yeah, that's what Title 8 is.
So one more month isn't going to.
No, that's what,
And
So if
before
there
rushing
is,
into it tonight, and
there is no vote.
A committee can still meet those.
right.
And that's what I'm asking for,
there too.
because it's, can we actually agree to have
We're not
a
sitting
meeting?
here. I'll prolong that.
We said committee report next meeting.
Very, very good, gentlemen, I don't need a motion for that, we've already agreed to form a committee and report next week. Very good, in that case, we will open up the floor once more to the public if they have any comments. Charlie, you're still here?
No, he,
Okay.
I saw him.
I guess Mr. Samagi has it.
Yeah, a couple things. The code deal, remember I said something about rental properties and stuff? You might be able to wrap that all together.
sure.
Yep,
And
correct.
it's all, so the IPMC is the International Property Maintenance Code. It covers the vast majority of anything you're looking at, with the exception of a rental inspection program that the borough could draw up. There's several thousand templates out there.
Sure, okay. Is there we don't have a newspaper, we don't have Penny Saver any longer. Communication is really difficult now. I wonder, do you try to have an email address for residents and property owners, just so that they could be in the loop a little bit, you know?
Our emails are public for both the administration.
No, I mean, do you have a list of the
So the
residents
borough can notify the
and
public.
property owners?
As long as they would give their info, I don't see why it couldn't work.
You know, that way, if something like, and I don't think it's a bad idea, reducing the size of the borough council, you know, you could at least put that out so people knew what you were thinking about. It may or may not get in a newspaper, you know, but, I mean, what is it, 8 now?
7.
I did the math, and it's like you have one representative for 125 people, and probably only half of those are registered voters and whatever. So you probably could get away with having a smaller council, but that's beside the point. Here's something that's fun. Does anybody know if the community or any of the organizations are putting some together to put on our welcome signs that we're the state champions in football?
There has been something out there. I've been contacted a couple times about it. And basically, that's something that comes back to, I don't know if it's the chamber or the ladies groups who do the flowers and stuff that handle that sign.
I'd like to see that done somehow. But anyway.
I know posting anything along the state highway requires.
DOT gets
access
involved.
Oh, we've already got a sign. So
Yeah, I know, but what you put on there can be reviewed by. It's been done in other communities.
Oh,
I've
yeah,
seen that it's been done in other. So again, I don't think it's an impossible thing. It's just, you know.
I mean, I'm kind of proud of that. I think we should all.
There's a fundraising effort right now for signing for the football scoreboard down at Alpron.
Okay.
The permanent to say, I can't remember where the other place is.
If we're gonna do that with the
It might be
football team, we
on
probably ought to
one of the
recognize
gates for
the Seymour kid,
Alpron, so
too.
when you come in.
The Seymour kid, championship wrestler.
Oh,
See that's, John, I think that's fairly, in all fairness, that's where you start getting into a problem. You got a state champion wrestler, two-time.
Yeah.
Are we gonna put him on the board? I won 3 wrestling matches in high school. I'd like to be on one of those boards myself. Sorry.
well, yeah. And I think
I think the thought process that's gone into it so far is that you brag about it where the team is, which is down at the football field.
yeah, that's a good point,
And
yeah.
I know from some of the arguments with the sign coming into town, they actually do get down to, is that a business? Is it a corporation? Is it a nonprofit? They
Yeah.
actually start looking at it.
Yeah, I know
Who's advertising on
Canton,
the
when they
sign?
won the championship, what, the baseball or something, they
Thanks,
put
Ron.
one.
Did you have anything else for Borough Council?
Excuse me?
Thank you, Ron. Did you have anything else for Borough Council?
No, but that's,
All
you're
right,
right,
then
I
I'm
pretty
going to
much.
this meeting, friends. Thanks everyone for coming.
You need a
All
vote,
three.
you need a vote to close the meeting.
Quick point of order.
Yeah.
The way to adjourn the meeting
Let's ask for one.
is to say, if no one else has any other business or business in the order, I need a motion.
We
to adjourn
already
this meeting.
asked you.
Get a motion,
asked you. I make the motion.
Get a motion.
The point of order is well received. You may make your
I
motion.
make a motion that we adjourn.
No, that's not what you just said.
Come on.
Yeah,
Don't play it silly games.
It's not getting any cooler.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you,
Adjourn the
John.
meeting.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Oh.